everyone, welcome to episode 16 of the Flea Market Style Traveler's Notebook Make-Along. Today we are here to bind our journal and to put on our tie. So as you can see, prototype is done. I like the way that I bind this because it allows me to just pull here when I'm writing in the journal, flip that back and pull it this way, and we have a nice secure tie that's not going anywhere. And then when we get into the center here, you will see the binding. You leave these a little bit long. If you want, you can tie beads or whatever you like to the center. I've chosen not to for these journals. And I'm going to be going with the 3-hole binding. I think it's perfect for this size journal. You could also do a 5-hole binding, but I'm going to keep it simple as I think there's quite a few people who are beginners that have been following along with this and are making their own journal. So this is a really secure, great binding that I actually use for a lot of my journals. So everything is bound. We're good. Okay. So then when you want to close it back up, you just simply pull your strings here, and I'm using vintage seam binding for my tie, as well as for my binding I'm using embroidery floss, a full skein of the 6 strands of embroidery floss. Now, I do recommend that you buy new embroidery floss. You can also use waxed linen or bookbinder's thread. I like embroidery floss. I think it's very accessible. It's inexpensive. It's very strong. I do recommend against using vintage or thrifted unless you know for sure it's strong. You've really, you will find out when you're binding when it snaps and then you have to start all over again. It's very sad. So let's move on to the binding process for the journal that we're making together. So here it is. So the first thing I like to do before I start the binding is I'll grab my needle. This is what I use to bind. This is a large darning needle with a sharp edge and a hole. What I use to poke my holes is this. It's a paper piercer. I don't use an awl because awls tend to get fatter as they go up. I like paper piercers because they're just one width and they're a nice size hole. I don't like using any kind of a hole punch like the chomper. It makes too large of a hole, and I don't know, I just don't like how it looks, and I think there's a easier tendency to tear the paper. So the first thing I want to do is select a color for my binding. Now this one I've been seeing kind of in pinks. So I'm going to use this pink embroidery floss, and you're going to measure 3 times the length of the journal. 1, 2, 3, and snip it off. Okay, so then just thread your needle, which should be quite easy because it's a large needle. Okay, there we go. And then just set that aside. Set it over here. Okay, so now we need to prepare our journal for binding, and what that involves is starting by removing anything that's going to add a lot of bulk, because we want this to be easy as possible for binding, right? So from the back, open up your journal. I recommend you take out your ephemera and you lay it beside you as so. So this is the first item. I've removed it. Lay it down. I want to take this one out. I'm going to lay it the opposite direction. And the reason that I do that is because in some pockets there's more than one item. So I will lay them down together in the same direction so I know that they go together. So then just kind of flip through and take out anything that could get in the way of your binding, as well as just anything that's adding a bit of thickness. Some things you may choose to leave in, which is totally fine, because they're not that impactful. Most things that are clipped on the side here you can leave in because they're nowhere near the binding. This one I'm going to take out though because of the other reason, bulk. So over here I will take this out. Oh, the other thing is, whenever you take anything out where it's paper clipped, leave the paper clip there. That's your notifier that you have to add something in there. It tells you, hey, something's missing. So it just kind of helps you as you go back through the journal, remembering to put things in. So this is an example. I'm leaving this little piece of stationery, no need to take it out. And I'm taking out this because it's bulkier, but I'm going to leave the paper clip on because I need to remember that something goes there. See, this is the example, multiple things, lay them the same direction together. then this is the whole section of waterfall papers. There's nothing to remove there, so just leave that. And on this side, I'll take out my little photo. And you're really going to get a sense now of just how much ephemera is in here and how much we have made. It's actually quite a lot of work we've done. Even though this is one of the smaller kinds of journals that I make, this is still a lot of work. So hopefully it will help you to appreciate and to explain your work to other people and how much is involved in this kind of journal making. So, okay, now it's time to just do this. You're putting your hands on either side of the journal and you're just kind of pushing in to make sure nothing is going out the top or out the bottom. Take a look here, see if any papers are coming above or below, or if there's anything you want to stick out, like this little look right here. Maybe you want that to go a little higher, you could pull it up. And then the same with the side. This is your opportunity to decide, is there anything here that's sticking out way too far? A little tiny bit like this is fine, but some people do get quite, you know, rigid and they want to trim that now to go back. So this is your time to take a paper out, sliver any off the end that you don't want. I'm actually very comfortable with this. I like it. And a major thing that I like about it is this. We did this. So this is going to give a little bit of sort of a natural feel to things that can stick out of the journal. So yeah. Okay, so everything is out. And we're going to go now find our center, which is the middle paper that you chose, that lovely paper that you chose for your center. In my case, it's Edith Holden and it's right here. So now you're going to just hold firmly, pressing with your thumbs quite firmly to feel the inner spine against the outer spine. You feel it's lined up, it's straight, nothing is sticking out. Another good thing is you've taken all the ephemera out that would fall out if anything. So now we are good to begin doing our clipping and clamping and such. Now I have a slightly different way that I like to do this. You can use bulldog clips, large safety pins. You can get smaller clips. Sometimes paper clips, like small paper clips if you're doing a small journal, but this is my tried and true method that I enjoy. So you can do it whatever you like, but I use this nice big strong bulldog clip. And the first one that I put on, I have just given it a good pinch. I know that it's close, it's lined up, so I will hurriedly get that on and flip these down. And I won't let go up here. I will keep this in my hand and do the same thing opposite side of the top here. Whew. Okay, so now you've got the structure in. It's not going to move a lot, but you still need to really keep your thumbs to just keep that lined up. Now I put these on. Next, I love these. The only thing about them is when they're new, you need to watch because these can be a little sharp and they can scratch your paper. Over time, they'll wear down, but I do recommend if you have a little piece of sandpaper and you can kind of sand them a bit, go for it. So then the last piece, again, we're going to press up here, just still feel everything feels good. Then put this up here. This is a little bit of a chunky spot, but it's okay. These ones aren't holding it as strategically as the clips. So then I just run my finger down here a few times. I hold and support the back, and I just press and support the back, or you can tear the paper here. Okay, so right now is an important moment. This is open and it's in an L shape, okay? And it's in the natural L shape that I'm holding it in. The reason this is important is about how you're going to bind and stitch your journal closed. Keep it in this position. Don't start bending it, opening and closing it, because you're going to move your spine around and you're going to make your holes move around. So let's go with our paper piercer. So from the bottom, coming in a little bit over an inch, poke your hole, turn your paper piercer, and just watch where you're coming through. You're looking to come through the stitching here or as close as possible, okay? There's one hole. Now we go in the center. Again, turning our arm. See, it's working its way through. We're going all the way in with it, and you can kind of go up and down a couple times to really widen your hole. And then your third hole, same thing, about an inch, a little more than an inch inward. Okay, whoops, hold on. So there's where I didn't come through where I wanted. Hold on. have to line this up again how I want. Okay, there we go. That's where I want to be. Okay. Okay. So now you've got your 3 holes. 1, 2, 3. So grab your needle. And then remember to keep it in the same position that you punched it, the same L shape. Hopefully you can see the angle. Now go in through the middle, and it should poke through very easily. Then you're going to pull through until you've got about this much left, just over the edge here. Okay. And then you come in the back side and through your hole. And then just check the back. It's almost taut, but not quite. Now you're going to go up to the top hole and through, and then through there. Now this part, this is where you really want to make sure you've kept your journal in the right angle, because you don't want things to move. When you come through here, you've got to go through this hole one more time, okay? And you're going to sort of feel that like things could get a little bit disjointed if you've moved your book around. So the other important part, hold on, sorry, I've just done this about 5 times and now I'm just floundering because I'm on camera. This is why I don't do binding on camera. Okay, so you're coming back through your hole. Now, the important thing, okay, you want to make sure when you come through that you have not pierced through this other string, okay? So I haven't, thankfully. Now the way to try to manage that is when you go through, you can sort of angle your needle away from this thread so that it's going in and it's coming away. That's what I do to try to make sure I don't pierce my thread. So now the other thing I did, which I didn't mention, is both of these strings when I threaded it through were like this. They were on this side of the binding. I took this one, and I go under. Okay, now you can take your needle off. You're done with your needle. So now just give the strings a little pull in an opposite direction. Check the back if it's laying flat. It should be taut but not pursing your book. So tie 1 knot. Now switch directions, tie a 2nd knot, and then switch directions again and do a 3rd knot. Okay, and then go down to the bottom of your book and just snip. You can, again, if you want to, you can tie things to that, like beads or what have you. Okay, so now we're all bound. So now we can go ahead and remove our clips first. Clip, and then this one's a little tricky to get off just because it's sitting on top of a doily here. We'll just unthread it from our doily. Okay, and we'll push all this out of the way, and there we go. We have our binding. So see, nice clean binding. All the pages are in. We're safe now. Okay, so now it's time for my favorite part, which is reloading the journal. Okay, so open it on up, and then just begin putting everything back in. And this is where it all comes together beautifully. This in here. And this is a nice time to just reflect on everything that you made and how much fun this has all been. What a journey to get here, right? Little waterfall of papers here. And our breakup tag. Okay. Almost there. Why the paper clip's important, because we remember to put this back. And our audience card. Okay, and now we are all stuffed again. So now it's time to do our tie. Okay, so on to the tie. I'm using for this one, this is a vintage piped seam binding, and it's nice and strong and I really like it. And I'm again going with a color that I think matches the journal. So you can use seam binding, you can use torn fabric, ribbon. You could even do an elastic through if you wanted to. Like you could thread your elastic through, and then the way that you open it, you'd be like you'd only need one eyelet for that, but you could have one eyelet, thread elastic through it, and it would go through the eyelet. Then you could slip it over and write it in your journal. Lots of options, but I give a decent amount of this seam binding, and I thread it through both the back and the front like that. So then the way that you close it, you're just going to give it a tug on both ends, and then you just tie it up. And when you untie it, it's really easy to just slip it back, you know, behind the journal like I showed you in the beginning of the video. So there we go. And then you can go ahead and just trim the excess. I usually just do like a little angle just because it looks cute. And there we go. We have a finished Traveler's Notebook journal that we made ourselves from beginning to end together. And that was a lot of fun. So if you hung out with me and you did this, if you made this journal, or if you followed this series and you're working on it, I would love to see what you do. If you're on Instagram, you can tag me at Studioloo. If you want to send me a message, you can. You can even send me an email if you don't use any social media. You could do that at cindy@studioloo.com. I would just love to see what you've done. That would be really wonderful. So I will probably do at least one more, maybe two more videos in this series. I'll do a final flip through of this journal, and I might do I'm definitely going to do a flip through and then maybe some notes at the end of the flip through, because I am planning to write up this plan and offer it in my Etsy shop, so that if you need a walkthrough that's a quick, like a PDF, you don't want to watch 15 videos, you need clear instructions written down with diagrams, that's the plan. So not sure when that's going to come out. I might need a little bit of time to just finish it up, but I'll try to be I'll try to get it done quickly. So thank you so much for hanging out with me for this series. I had a blast, and I really love these journals, and I'm going to have quite a few of them coming very soon to my Etsy shop, because I've been mass making in the background, because I am all out of last season's journals, mostly these kind of journals, and I needed some new ones for this upcoming spring and summer. So thank you everyone, and we'll talk again soon. Bye for now.